So, as many of you know, the movie Alien Covenant is coming out this May 19th of this year, and I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a very interesting movie. It is a direct sequel to Prometheus. It's not. It is part of the Alien franchise, but it's not a sequel to the more recent Alien movies. Just a sequel to Prometheus. Um, which, if you hadn't seen Prometheus already, or if you haven't done any research on it, you might not have known that because if you've seen the trailer for Alien Covenant, it kind of looks like almost a soft reboot of the original Alien movie. It kind of does. Um, it's kind of it's kind of a weird trailer in that you really don't see any of the original characters from Prometheus. Now I know we do see Michael Fassbender, but if you look at Wikipedia, Michael Fassbender is listed as playing two characters, David, who was from Prometheus, and Walter. So I don't think we saw David in the actual Alien Covenant trailer. I think we've seen Walter. And more importantly, we haven't seen Numi Rapace's character, Elizabeth Shaw. And I find that quite interesting, and it's kind of easy to see this trailer and maybe dismiss it as being a pile of shit. But in reality, I think it's important to note that we really haven't. Ridley Scott didn't show us anything that we haven't already seen. You know what I mean? Like for the most part, all the stuff that was in the trailer is stuff we've seen before. We've seen xenomorphs killing people. We've seen face huggers raping people's faces. There's a lot of those things we've seen before. Now, there were a few things that were kind of new. There was the sequence of the thing trying to bust out the guy's back, and apparently this movie is supposed to have a new alien called a neomorph, from what I've heard, which kind of has me a little worried because it's just introducing a new alien monster thing doesn't necessarily it's not something that necessarily makes a story or plot more interesting, and I think it could potentially make things more complicated and really just bring in more problems than there needs to be, because Prometheus is supposed to be a sequel prequel to the original Alien movie, and it does um, sort of show the progression of the first xenomorph. I think in interviews, Ridley Scott has referred to the xenomorph looking creature we see in Prometheus as a deacon. Not sure why he does that. I'm sure someone will yell at me and then tell me there's a reason for it, but I don't know it. I didn't care to look for it. I don't care why he called it a deacon. um, now, I do think if you're going to continue watching this video, it is I'm going to reference you to watch a video by a YouTuber that some of you probably have heard of him, by the name of Chris Struckman. He does, I think, like a 20-minute video analysis, explaining a lot of things about Prometheus. I mean, I've watched Prometheus several times, and there were several things that, he was able to explain to me in a way that I didn't even think about it beforehand. So some of the things that I'm going to be looking for in Alien Covenant is a few answers that we didn't quite get in Prometheus, because Prometheus was in a way supposed to be a story by itself, while also in a smaller way being a prequel to Alien by kind of showing you the first xenomorph, the first creation of the xenomorph. Which is kind of, if you watched Prometheus and you really weren't, like it's kind of easy to miss it. It honestly is. It first starts with when they go into that room where they have all of the black vases, and then David takes one of those vases, opens it up, gets the little fucking glass vial, breaks it open, shakes the goo up, and then looks at the goo and says, "Big things have small beginnings," or something like that. Uh, and then he poisons Elizabeth Shaw's boyfriend, whose name I believe is it's either Holloway or Holiday. Poisons him, and then he fucks Elizabeth Shaw, and then later on, she's told that she's 3 months pregnant of some weird alien thing. And then she has it removed, and it's some weird octopus-looking thing. And then towards the end of the film, when Elizabeth Shaw is for a brief few seconds confronted with the engineer, it turns out that that weird thing that she had taken out of her kind of saves her life, and it turns out to be a gigantic. I'm not even gonna call it a face hugger. It's a fucking body snatcher. It's a giant raping octopus that just completely engulfed the engineer. It's kind of a funny sequence to watch. um, so something I'm looking for in Alien Covenant is what the fuck is the black goo that David used to poison Elizabeth Shaw's boyfriend. I hope you haven't lost me yet, because we don't quite know what that black goo is, but we do know that the black goo creates the first xenomorph, and that's interesting. Now, something that is said in the movie by one of the characters in the movie Prometheus by the captain of the ship Prometheus is he suggests that this, or actually he doesn't just suggest, he straight up says that that place that they went to was like a military installation where they were making WMDs and something, and that's something that kind of bothers me because there's really no indication within the context of the movie that would really suggest that it actually is a place where they would make weapons. Now, I understand why that character would say that it is a place where they were making weapons, because if you look at his experience, one of the characters, I think his name was Fifield, got, was basically turned into like some raging zombie, killing a few members of his ship. Um, the captain of Prometheus ship. I forgot what that character's name was. The character was played by Idris Elba. The only black guy in the film. But where was I going with that? But my problem is there's really no actual indication that that was a military installation, and I kind of like to think that it necessarily wasn't a military installation. I like to think that maybe they were just it was just like a big complex science lab, and they were trying to create something. We don't know what, but it somehow became it unintentionally became something that they could use as a weapon, um, which is which is kind of interesting. I find that to be more interesting than anything else. So I kind of just want to know what is the black goo, and also what was the fate of the engineers. Really, what was their exact fate? Because obviously the place that they went to in Prometheus wasn't actually their home planet necessarily. Now, another thing that'll be interesting to see in Prometheus is what has happened to Elizabeth Shaw. Because again we don't see her in the trailer anywhere at all. So it does make you wonder. Is she still alive? Will she be dead? So that'll be interesting to find out. And another thing that I'm kind of interested in is why is this new crew of people going to the place they're going to, because obviously in the trailer they don't really mention where it is, but I do kind of wonder, are they going to the planet that was referenced in the original Alien movie? Are they going to the same place that Elizabeth Shaw's crew went in Prometheus, or are they going to a new place? Assumingly, I'm going to guess that it's probably the place that Elizabeth Shaw went to, because this is a direct sequel to Prometheus, And if we don't see Elizabeth Shaw anywhere in the movie, then that's just going to be very awkward and hard to explain. um, so I think that's about all I really have to say. I guess I don't necessarily, I'm not expecting to see a lot per se. I think, I think there's just like a few questions that need to be answered. What is the black goo, and what happened to the engineers? Now, there's another question that I'm not asking is why did the engineers create humans? And the reason I'm not asking that question is because of a scene in Prometheus where David asks before he poisons Elizabeth Shaw's boyfriend Holloway. They have a little conversation where Holloway is kind of it's not he's kind of, I guess, depressed or whatever, that he thinks all of the engineers are dead, um, and he wanted to ask them why did they create us, and then David asked him, well, why did your people create me, because David's a robot, and Holloway's answer is because we could. And I think that establishes that the engineers really don't need any great or profound reason for why they created us. And that's why I don't really care if that question is answered. And I don't think it's a question that necessarily needs to be answered, If it turns out that they created us just because, then I think that's fine. That's a fine answer. I don't really have any qualms with that at all. Um, but I am more interested in the black goo, and what what was it, was it intended to be as a weapon, because it's, again, the way I look at how, because in Prometheus they do show the progression of how the first xenomorph was created, and to me it kind of looks, it kind of, I get the idea that the creation of xenomorphs wasn't necessarily um, the intention of the black goo. It was more or less just an unfortunate result. It's just an accident, you know, which in some ways is kind of reminiscent of humanity's creation of gunpowder. Humans, we did not intentionally try to create gunpowder. Gunpowder was made on accident. So I find that kind of interesting. So, that's why I don't think that this stuff was originally intended as a weapon. It was probably intended for some other purpose, but then they realized, oh, we could use this to kill things. So that's really all I have to say about this. I hope this video was easy to follow. I hope I didn't lose any of you. I really it's been a while, and I had a lot to say about this fucking movie, and I just wanted to just vomit it all out there in this video. So if you like this video, then like this video, and please subscribe for more from me. So adios.